Motif was founded because there's so much disruption going on in the fashion industry. It's been going on for years, and we've seen even more kind of pain and disruption just in the last 2 years because of the pandemic. But Motif was founded because we are trying to enable change in the industry. And we're a young company. We're actually only 5 years old. We were incubated inside of Alvenon, which is Alvenon's a body technology company. And we were incubated because they work with global brands, and they were starting to see in all the brands that they work with this kind of loss of fundamental technical skills. You have the last generation with production floor expertise that's retiring in the next 5 to 10 years if it hasn't already. And with this loss of fundamental technical base knowledge across the industry, we have an urgent need for a new blend of skills. And that's because of these industry imperatives for things like sustainability and 3D digitization. So we have, add to the loss of core skills, you have an urgent need of new blend of skills. And what you see is that our industry has a serious future of work problem. We are facing disruption, and things are breaking, and we need to put them back together. And then also we need to adapt for this new reality of the industry. So Motif was founded. Our vision was to create a platform. There's so much expertise across the industry, and the problem is it's so spread out. It's so disparate around the world. This is the most global industry out there, and expertise is so spread out. So we want to be that platform, a learning experience platform that's a hub for this expertise. And when we were first founded, the idea was, let's just take some of this core knowledge and we will create great online education, online courses, because there's a lot of general online courses out there, Coursera, Masterclass, or platforms out there, even LinkedIn Learning, but there's no deep vertical for our industry. And so that was our goal, was to create this platform with great content. And we, as I said, we're still a young company. We split out from Alvenon in early 2019, and Alvenon invested in us as well as the Mills Fabrica. So we're now our own entity, and we're slowly gaining momentum as we work with industry partners to create great content and deliver it to a very global professional audience. That's not a clear-cut answer. My favorite thing I'd love to quote is, I remember a couple years ago talking to some startups, and they were saying they were looking for pattern makers with coding skills. And they couldn't find that, so they were having to take coders and teach them pattern making skills. So I think there's several things going on. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that in itself is a huge task. So I think there's several things going on. You have to have some of the basic fundamental skills and technical understanding. And I think when we first started, we thought we were going to go out and find great content that already existed and just poured it on. We would just be the platform for it. And what we found is a lot of that content doesn't exist. And even the basics, like our first course on the platform was apparel costing. How do you cost a garment? And I can tell you, it was one of the largest sourcing companies that came to us saying they had need for this. And so there's these fundamental technical skills that you need. Okay, that's one thing. Then you have all this new world of fashion with 3D design, and as you said, Bret, we need all the new technology, the new design, the new tools that are being used, but also at the consumer retail level, you have all the data analytics and the retail analytics that we need to really transform the industry. So you have these technical skills. Then what about sustainability? Every company is talking about sustainability. That is such a broad topic that has so many layers and strategies, and it impacts every part of your organization. It's not just a marketing thing. So there's an education that's got to happen there.
And the pipeline's not fully formed.
Yep. And there's an education that has to happen there across the organization. And my other comment is, so much of this industry happens in silos in organizations. So those need to be also broken down. So you can't it's not enough to have a sustainability office and a sustainability head of sustainability and call it a day. Everyone in your organization has to know the fundamentals and understand how it impacts the business and the mission of the company. So I think it's kind of like a three-pronged tool, but they're all very much interlinked. As you said, that expertise is so global, so spread out. Someday when I have more time, I would love to do a heat map of where the industry expertise kind of sits around the globe, because I think we would find some quite interesting patterns. But I also like to say I think I have one of the best jobs in the world, because I get to go around and meet people who are really good and at what they do and know have their subject matter expertise. So how do we find them? So we work across the industry. We work with universities. So actually, we're not competing with universities. We're meant to complement to universities. So we work with universities. For example, LIM College out of New York City was the first university to package some of their bachelor's and master's programs into a short courses for a professional audience on Motif. And then we work with companies that have a lot of in-house expertise that can be shared, that helps lift the industry as a whole. And then individuals. And a lot of these individuals have kind of risen to roles in their organizations where they're already starting to transfer some of the knowledge that they have. So for example, Erin Gregory teaches our 3D transformation course. She, actually, interestingly enough, she was introduced to us by Sharon Lim, but Erin has a lot of experience with 3D transformation projects in some big brands. So Erin has got the experience and has worked in consulting roles in companies. So she had material and content that's been vetted. Deborah Schulten teaches our textile appreciation course. She's based out of London and has worked for years with companies, running workshops on the fundamentals of fabric. So those are examples of individuals that have risen up in the industry and have a lot of expertise to share. And I'm constantly meeting new people. We can't produce these courses fast enough. We're moving to a live masterclass format because that allows us to do them much quicker, and then we can turn them into recorded courses afterwards. One of the big issues the industry has is the pipeline of skills. It is an old industry. It's not necessarily an attractive one, especially the manufacturing supply chain side of it. So we have an issue attracting a younger generation. And, other industries have done this too. The automotive industry in the U.S., how the power industry in the U.S. these are all industries that have had pipeline issues and have come together as an industry to try to create solutions around this. So I think creating this pipeline of skills for the industry is very, very important. We still as an industry need also these niche skills that you were just talking about, that you travel around the world and have seen these very specific skills. Think of lingerie. What about lingerie? The skill sets that are needed there. And I still remember I was at Text Process probably 4 years ago. I think it was the CFO of Spanx met her, and she was talking about how that knowledge was contained like in one person. And, the fear is when that one person goes, what happens?
Wow.
So, lingerie is very specific skills needed. So
I think that person needs to ask for a raise.
Yeah. So, it's we've got to focus on, where's this pipeline of skills, and then how do we, as an industry, we do need to break things to fix some of the issues. And I think the pandemic has raised a lot of, or exacerbated a lot of the issues in the industry. So we've got to break things to fix them. So you do need people that are going to step outside their silo and try things a little bit, do things a little bit differently.